Hey everybody, I've been sitting on this information for some time now, and I've decided to do a video on it. Why? Well, for a couple reasons. I want to drive home just how serious things are out there right now, and it's only escalating. I also want to drive home just how fast life can change in the blink of an eye. And those of us here who celebrate the Second Amendment regularly, most of us have made decisions that if something were ever to happen, we will be that sentinel to keep our family safe, our community safe, right? What am I referring to? Well, here's the police report on the mass incident that took place at the bank in Lexington, Kentucky in April of 2023. Before I jump into it, I want to thank the sponsor of the video real quick, and that's Lear Capital. As many of you know, I am very particular as to who sponsors this show. I want you to know that I chose Lear Capital because they are aligned with American values, and their priority is to help educate and inform people, you and me, on what's actually happening in politics, the economy, and how to protect and preserve the wealth we already have. They're standing by to answer all of your questions related to buying physical gold and silver, and they'll ship that directly to your door discreetly. So don't wait. Do what I did and call and ask those questions. Learn and absorb that knowledge so that you can decide what's right for you and your family. Now, Lear Capital helped me purchase my gold, and they answered all of my questions. There is no obligation to purchase, so give them a call. It's 1-800-260-5075 or go to leargg.com. Links are down below so that you can check it out for yourself. So don't wait. Give them a call, 1-800-260-5075 or go to leargg.com. Guys, I want to start this by saying that it's the day after Thanksgiving, and I am extremely thankful for all of you, for those who tune into this channel regularly. I'm also thankful for new viewers. Thank you. Hopefully you decide to stick around. And this video I'm doing right now is not a typical video of Guns and Gadgets, but this is something that is a lightning rod in our community, in our country, in society. And far too often you don't get the truth. Well, here's the truth. I guess I'm going to put a caution on it that what I'm about to read to you and show you could startle some people with the reality of things. But this is the investigative report, which has been made public. I want to say that for the YouTube algorithm. This has been made public. This is now public knowledge of the incident that took place in Lexington, Kentucky. This could also severely affect my channel because a couple weeks ago I put out the leaked manifesto of the Tennessee, the Nashville shooter, and some things happened to the channel after that, and I expect things to happen again. So if you could support the channel by making sure you like the video and subscribe down below. Please turn on the bell notification as well so that you're notified when I put out new content or go live. The first page of the Louisville Metro Police Department's investigative report related to this incident. You can see the incident took place on April 10th of 2023. Here's a notification and response. On Monday, April 10th of 23 at 08:38 hours, the Louisville Metro Police Department 1st Division responded to a report of an active aggressor at 333 East Main Street, Old National Bank. Upon the arrival of Officer Corey Galloway and Officer Nicholas Wilt, the officers were met with gunfire from an unknown assailant, later identified as Connor Sturgeon, waiting for officers to respond from an ambush position. Officer Wilt was struck in the head by gunfire, and Officer Galloway was struck in his vest. Officer Galloway was able to move to a position of cover and re-engaged with shooter and able to neutralize the threat. As more officers responded to the scene, Officer Wilt was taken to the hospital via LMPD vehicle. Officer Galloway, amongst others, entered the building to begin searching for any additional victims or aggressors. During the building clearing, 4 civilians were found, obviously deceased, in the area of the back conference room of the first floor, and the suspect was obviously deceased in the lobby of the bank. 6 other gunshot wound victims were located in several parts of the bank trying to find safety or ways to get transported to University Hospital. I was notified that I would be the lead investigator in conjunction with the Public Integrity Unit for the incident. I arrived on the scene approximately 09:45 hours. The scene review. Upon arrival at the scene, I conducted a walkthrough of the scene with several members of the LMPD Homicide Unit and Public Integrity Unit. We entered the bank from the front entrance where Connor Sturgeon was deceased with a rifle laying next to him. As I made my way towards the front of the bank, towards the conference room, I noticed multiple spent rifle casings from the corner office in the northeast office and in the hallway leading to the conference room. Upon arriving at the conference room, there was a male deceased in the hallway and 3 more deceased individuals in the conference room, 1 female and 2 males. I continued to walk around the rotunda of the first floor and noticed a blood trail that led into the female's bathroom on the south end of the building. At this point in the investigation, there had not been any positive identifications made. I designated Detective Lassiter to be the scene lead for processing and collection. Please refer to his investigative letter and the CSU reports, which are maintained in this case file, for further detail of the crime scene. During the processing of the scene, I received a direct order from Lieutenant Donald Burbank to have Jefferson County Coroner's Office respond and to make immediate attempts to identify the deceased victims in the bank prior to the completion of processing the scene in the manner which was best to preserve the integrity and evidence within the bank. With the assistance of FBI Special Agent Dan Nally, the identities of the deceased victims in the bank were found to be Joshua Barrick, Juliana Farmer, Thomas Elliott, and James Tutt. God rest their souls. Through interviews done at the hospital from Sergeant Jody Speaks, Sergeant Alex Eads, Sergeant Joel Cass, Detective Stephen Snyder, and Detective Mickey Kahn, the following identification was discovered from the victims that were taken to University Hospital via various methods. Judy Eckert, who was shot multiple times in the torso, was transported by LMEMS in critical condition and rushed straight to surgery, where she was pronounced deceased due to her injuries at 1826. The rest of the names have been redacted because they are still with us, luckily. Regarding the cell phones, several cell phones were collected on the scene from the conference room of the bank belonging to the victims. These phones were to be processed to determine if Connor Sturgeon had any communications with any of the victims in the conference room on the morning of the shooting. I received a direct order from Lieutenant Donald Burbank on April 27th to return the phones to the owners or families before all the devices could be properly processed. Please refer to the investigative letter drafted by Lieutenant Donald Burbank, maintained in this case file in relation to this decision. Any phones that were able to be processed will be stored digitally in this case file. There's an interview with the Sturgeon family. While on scene, I was made aware the parents of the suspected shooter had arrived on scene and were escorted back to their residence with officers. Special Agent Michael McLaurin of the ATF and I went to meet with the Sturgeon family for an interview at 11:15 hours. The following is a summary conducted. Please refer to the full recorded interview maintained on evidence.com and the transcript of the interview also in this case file. The family members interviewed were parents blank, blank, and the younger brother blank. Blank showed up to the scene after being made aware of a possible situation from blank, who was the roommate of, let's just call him the assassin. The assassin left a note for blank to find, then called the mother of the assassin at 8:37 hours, stating a notebook had been left of thoughts and letters to family. The assassin then sent a group text to parents and brothers at 08:36 saying, "I love you." The parents stated he was in active therapy for mental health issues and on various medications for mental health. He had an appointment the previous Thursday and made no statements to indicate self-harm or hurting others. Changes were made to his medications to increase dosage units. The assassin spent the day prior, Easter Sunday, with the family and showed no signs of anything being wrong. The assassin had a prior suicide attempt on spring break the previous year in Florida and voluntarily checked into a mental hospital. The assassin told his mother Tuesday, the week prior, that he wanted to go on FMLA, which is the Family Medical Leave Act, from Old National Bank stemming from a panic attack he had that Monday. He stated he could not pinpoint what was going on with him, but he needed to leave. He was unhappy with his career path and stated to his parents he was not sure if he wanted to be in the banking industry long term. According to his parents, he had positive relationships with peers and bosses, and he was in a healthy long-term relationship with his girlfriend, whose name was redacted. And here is a big part of this, guys, and this is the reason I'm doing this. His parents were aware of his distaste for current gun laws. His parents could not provide any information as to why or how the incident at the bank occurred. It says the interview with his roommates and girlfriends took place, and they are also in the case file. Now here's a timeline of the incident. If you don't want you don't want the reality of what happens in the real world and what might happen to you at any given moment, where you might be in this situation and you might need to make a decision to save somebody's life, then maybe fast forward this. But if you're serious about being serious, then here we go. The following is a summary of events that occurred from when Connor Sturgeon arrived on Old National Bank until officers made entry into the bank after he had been neutralized. The ability to put this timeline together came from reviewing the footage of the interior of the bank and the Instagram live video that the assassin had started prior to the shooting, along with information gathered from the surviving victims in the conference room at the time of the shooting. 0815. He arrived at the bank in his black Mazda sedan. He parks and exits his vehicle to retrieve a gym bag out of the trunk. He then walks into the bank. Items in the bag were found to be a change of shirt, a rifle, magazines, ear protection, and eye protection. 083512. He exits his corner office on the northeast corner of the building with a rifle and 3 loaded magazines for reloads on his person. At 083535, he encounters his first victim in the hallway outside of the conference room, verbally saying, quote, "It's time to go." He then pulls the trigger with no successful discharge and recharges the rifle and shoots her once, striking her in the leg. At 083537, he turns his attention to the conference room while simultaneously charging his rifle again, possibly ejecting a live round. 083538, a second later, he opens fire on occupants in the conference room as they are attempting to flee. There were 13 people in the conference room when he began to open fire. He strikes Joshua Barrick in the hallway outside of the conference room as he's trying to flee, causing his death. He then continues to fire into the conference room while closing distance to the entry door. He stands outside of the entry door of the conference room and proceeds to shoot and kill Thomas Elliott, James Tutt, and Juliana Farmer. He continues to shoot at the other occupants of the conference room by taking different stances and angles of fire to strike them while they are hiding behind objects in the room. He was able to shoot those who are redacted and Judy Eckhart. All these victims survived their injuries at the University Hospital after being transported, except for Judy Eckhart, who was pronounced deceased at 1826 hours. He fired approximately 25 to 30 rounds total in the conference room. At 083558, he then turns away from the conference room, reloads his rifle, and waits inside the hallway without engaging or attempting to make engagements with anyone else in the building. He does not actively move throughout the building or seek any more victims based off of his mannerisms. During the next 4 minutes of him standing in the hallway, blank and blank were able to escape the conference room and the building and run across the street for help. 083901 to 083909. He moves from his hiding position in the hallway towards the front of the bank and scans the area, then moves back to his original position of hiding in the hallway. 083928. He's still in his position of hiding in the hallway, peeking out and continuously scanning the area, even checks the time on his watch. 083954, he changes his position to the front northeast corner office area to set up a new firing position. 084053, he fires 2 rounds at the first responding police vehicle. 084059, he shoots 1 round at 2 civilians, not striking them, who entered the lobby, presumably from the elevator of an upper floor, forcing them back into the interior of the first floor. 084104 to 084133. He's pacing in between his secondary position of fire and the lobby. 084135. He sees the first responding officers arrive on foot from the northeast side and begins to open fire, approximately 8 to 9 rounds, striking both officers. Officers returned fire during this encounter. This is believed to be the timing when Blank was shot in the leg as he was across the street trying to obtain help. 084204, he appears to shoot 2 more rounds at Officers Wilt as he lay on the ground and at the officers trying to give him aid. 084204 to 084436, he paces back and forth between the lobby and northeast corner, looking out of the window for responding officers from positions of cover. 084336, he engages officers again in a firefight and appears to fire his remaining spent rounds before he is struck in the leg, arm, and then head by return gunfire from Officer Galloway, causing his death. The entirety of the shooting was approximately 8 minutes from when Blank was shot until Officer Galloway shot him, ending the assault. The bad guy fired over 40 rounds from his rifle and performed a single magazine reload between the assault on the conference room before engaging with responding officers. Further details of the shooting. The following information was gathered from interviews of their surviving victims and physical evidence collected at the scene. The rifle that was used was a Radical Firearms RF-15. The rifle was equipped with a red dot sight optic and an M-LOK foregrip. The madman entered the bank with 120 rounds of .556 ammunition loaded between 4 separate rifle magazines. The ATF was able to determine that from the serial number, the rifle was purchased on April 4th, 2023 at 11:55 hours from River City Firearms. All copies of purchase receipts and applications along with the interviews gathered by the ATF agents from River City Firearms will be maintained in this case file. Now, it should be mentioned that this rifle was purchased legally. He did go to the store. He did fill out his 4473, which he lied on in 2 spots. Please refer to the following 2 diagrams for a layout of the shooting of Old National Bank. The first diagram is an overview of the first floor and the layout of the crime scene when investigators began to process the crime scene. The second diagram is the seating alignment of the conference room when the shooting took place, which was provided and compiled by several surviving victims. And these diagrams are not to scale of the actual conference room. Here's the investigation into this crazed person. Upon positively identifying the shooter, the Digital Forensics Unit immediately began attempts to locate and preserve all social media associated with him. The following list are search warrants drafted and executed directly tied to the madman. During the review of these returns, detective did not locate any vast search history involving guns, violence, or any evidence of long-term planning leading up to the shooting of Old National Bank. The large majority of his electronic search history surrounded that of fantasy gaming, of Pokemon, Elder Ring, Harry Potter, etc. No games heavily involved in violence, and various sports-related searches, most of which are basketball-related. The days after he purchased the rifle, there were several searches of local gun ranges in the area, but no videos saved or searches about how to use a firearm or tutorials behind firearms. Detectives follow up with the gun ranges that the bad guy searched. However, there was no record that he went to any gun ranges prior to the shooting at the bank. Based off of the footage from the shooting and the way he was handling the rifle, it appeared he did not have any firm understanding of how to operate this weapon system. Detective did locate a plan written in the Notes app of the cell phone drafted on 23:51 hours on April 9th, 2023. Clearly, you can see this is a deranged person. He says, messages, selfie with it, thanks NRA. This is what happens when those in power stop listening to the rest of us. They won't listen to words or protests. So let's see if they hear this. Instagram Live. Detectives were able to retrieve the Instagram story the shooter created on the morning of April 10th, 23, in the hours before the shooting at the bank. The first one, the second one, the third one. The following photo was the last selfie taken by him, dated April 5th of 23, the day after he purchased his rifle. Detectives have seen numerous photos like this surrounding the Joker face trend popular on social media. During the execution of the warrant at the residence, detectives located the writings the bad guy left behind to be found. These writings were photographed and collected for evidence. The following is a summary of what he journaled in the week leading up to the shooting at Old National Bank. Direct quotes of entries in relation to the planning of the shooting at Old National Bank will be documented in this letter. The first journal entry dated is April 3rd, 1 week prior to the shooting. The journal entry discusses him viewing his life as pointless and the need to make an impact or affect change. He then proceeds to list issues that weigh on him, such as inflation, climate disaster, gun access, lack of mental health case, and politicians with no interest in helping people. He then goes on to write his struggle with his depression and how he is unable to escape it even though he has been trying for the past year with therapy, medications, and other self-care methods. The next day after this journal entry is when he purchases the rifle. Next journal entry is dated April 4th, the day the rifle was purchased. He writes his goals to tell my story and impact change in gun access. He then proceeds to list his story involving having good family and friends and doing everything right in his professional and social life. He goes on to say he was able to buy a gun and highlighting again politicians with no interest in making things better and stop letting anyone buy guns or this will keep happening. The following are direct quotes of entries in this journal date. I have decided to make an impact. These people did not deserve to die, but because I was depressed and able to buy a gun, they are gone. Perhaps this is the impact for change. Upper class white people dying. I certainly would not have been able to do this were it more difficult to get a gun. And then there's an explanation of the process. Just called in, 45 minutes, get AR-15. I know our politicians are solely focused on lining their own pockets, but maybe this will knock some sense into them. If not, good luck. The next several journal entries are personal letters left behind to select family and friends, and a last will and testament to be found to divide his estate. These letters will be maintained in this case file. The April 9th journal entry, the day before the shooting, multiple pages of writings through this day. Something snapped Monday. This is not an accident. I'm sorry I had to lie all week, but this is something I have to do. It has all been planned, and it is flawed, but I think it will work. I know I won't be around to see it, and I know that makes me a coward. But I pray this can send a message to those with power that they are not invincible. I'm sorry for everything. This writing matches the statement provided by his parents during the interview, in which they stated the previous week he told them he wanted to go on FMLA from work due to him having issues. Other thoughts in the journal. I'm just tired of fighting. I was never going to reach anywhere near my full potential. I couldn't even handle a BS office at the bank. I don't think I'm a terrorist or a monster. I may be a psycho. I am definitely very sick. No one ever know the full extent. I knew how to lie and give people the answers they wanted or needed to hear. The alternative was getting institutionalized again, or spinning my wheels on new medications or more therapy. If we want change, it will take enormous action, because those in power care only about money and more power. Even the Supreme Court is not blatantly corrupt. Dems get rich by doing nothing in the name of civility, while they allow repubs to do whatever they want to whoever they want. A level of corruption that stands directly between us and progress. And then the last thing of the night, the plan. Oh my God, this is so easy. Seriously, I knew it would be doable, but this is ridiculous. Walked in and bought a gun, 4 mags, and 120 rounds for $700. Got some glasses and earplugs. Got my letters and social posts teed up. Outfit ready. Walk in tomorrow around 0830. Time of Elville team meeting in the boardroom. Dressed a bit casual with jeans, but I shrug it off. Change into shirt with Frock It for Instagram Live. Text plan for this notebook, OD, go to work. It is legitimately unfathomable how easy this all was. I always knew I was A, cunning, B, mean as absolute shit, and C, a way better liar than anyone gave me credit for. The secret is leading with, yeah, I've always been a bad liar. Never cheated on a girl though. But good heavens, I just lied to everyone so easily and none caught on. This is intentional. There is nothing anyone could have done. I'll say it again. There is nothing anyone could have done. It only would have delayed the inevitable. I know how sick I am, and with this sickness wins, but on my terms. But let us not forget the most important player here, the one who made it all possible. Let's give it up for the NRA. I could not have done this without all of your lobbying dollars. You really brought this whole thing together. This is the world you are building, one without any regard for the value of human life. The next page writes, I'm sorry, written in large lettering, taking up half of the page. And the next page writes, I can't take it anymore, in large lettering, that takes up half the page. There are no further entries into this journal. The next morning is when the shooting of Old National Bank occurs. Obviously, you have somebody who is mentally disturbed, right? He's thinking of every reason that he's being fed by TV as to why he thinks he needs to do this. Look, I'm someone who punches the NRA in the nose every chance I get because I think they can do better and I want them to do better. But the NRA, they're not the ones who wrote the Constitution. They're not the ones who told Democrats to go after firearms to make you less safe. And to go in and make victims of innocent people who were in a building in which they probably couldn't carry a thing to defend themselves, really did the opposite. you need to defend yourself, guys and gals. That's why I'm doing this video, to make you understand you are your own first responder. As morbid as this video and this report is, I hope that this drives this home. We'll end with the case summary. After compiling and reviewing all evidence collected regarding the shooting of Old National Bank, detective believes that the bad guy was not in communication with any other parties in the preparing and planning of the shooting at Old National Bank. The detective did not locate any messages or phone calls with subject matter involving the shooting to any outside parties. Based off the bad guy's search history of his laptop and phone, the shooting was planned and executed within the week prior. Detective did not locate any searches of how to plan or enact a mass shooting. The only searches of direct relevance to the planning of the bank were after April 3rd, 2023. These searches were previously documented in this letter, with gun ranges and finding the images used on his Instagram story the morning of the shooting. The journal entries possess in detail the plan the bad guy created for the shooting. The assassin writes about his change of his shirt with a frocket, which is a shirt with a front pocket. And this was for him to place his phone camera facing outward to live stream his events on Instagram Live, which he wrote he would do. Detective believes the journal entries left behind by the bad guy are direct information on the planning and his mindset in the days leading up to the shooting, with the possible motives for his actions including political issues surrounding corrupt politicians and lack of gun control. Guys, this is the second incident that is perpetrated by somebody who is their end goal is to have more gun control. Like, there are some sick people out there on these medications, these SSRIs. Yes, not everybody who is on one of those turns into a mass shooter, but every mass shooter has been on one. It's time we start being honest with ourselves and have those tough conversations. And if society was really interested, then they would be talking about the same thing too. Again, I'll tell you about the book, How to Make a Monster, A Sensible Look at Rampage Killers by my friend Paul Glasgow of Legally Armed America. I'll have a link down below to buy it on Amazon. It is a great read, and he's been talking about this. He did the research. SSRIs are a big issue for kids that are troubled. Let me know what you think about this video. Like I said, I've been hemming and hawing if I wanted to do this for a while now, and we'll see if the channel still exists tomorrow, I guess. Please help the channel out, like this video, share it if you think people need to see it, and ensure you are subscribed so that you're in the know here in the Second Amendment realm. I appreciate y'all. Be safe, guys and gals. Seriously, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a gun, because this could happen just like that. And hopefully you and your family members will be okay. And I know I make that decision every day. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.